Sound of Love, you're now invited to listen to the program The Morning Watch, brought to you by Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica and Chris and Charles. Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001, and if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, the Ganja debate. In the second watch, Israel and the church conference. In our social media question, we ask, are you as a Christian for or against using ganja recreationally or only medicinally? Why or why not? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, as I quote.
This morning's I quote, success usually comes to those who are too busy looking for it. Success usually comes to those who are too busy. This is inspirational indeed. Henry David Thoreau.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Blair.
I'm sorry, I was searching for success. Yes, good morning.
Thank you for the I quote, the Morning Watch. We'll be back after this break.
What would I do without you? You help me carry on, you help me stay strong. Whenever I'm down and can get through, you lift me up again and going all day long. Precious moments we share with you, everything's so right. It's clear, nothing else can compare to the taste that you bring to life. Mom's are full of life. You make me stronger.
Granville and Friends presents Grand Vision, a benefit concert, Friday, November 4 at 6:30 p.m. at the Eastwood Park New Testament Church of God, featuring Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Petra Kay, Dean Smith, Dai Kingston, Perpetual Sounds of Praise, Niket Morgan, John Martin, and more. MC Nadine Blair. Admission $1,300, pre-sold $1,500 at the gate. Children $500. Students with ID $1,000. Tickets available at SpurOpen.com/Grand Vision. This one is for a Grand Vision.
I Love 101 endorsed event.
Mommy, is who I ticket?
Hush, child. Me no want them see we.
But mommy, is the census takers?
Me not tell them my business.
But mommy, they need information about all the households to help make decisions about where to put things like clinics, stores, and new roads.
So?
Come, mommy. You count, me count, all our count.
Census Day is September 12th. Look out for the national census takers in your community and let them know you count.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are now in the main watch. Different religions have varying stances on the use of cannabis historically and today. In Rastafarianism or in Rastafari, the use of cannabis is a sacred, it's sacred, and cannabis is a sacred herb. What is the Christian response, being a different religion from Rastafarianism? What should the Christian response be? We have as our guests today Reverend Prophet, and I should add Bishop Mark Stewart. He's founder and bishop of Jamaica Restoration Breakthrough Prayer Healing Deliverance Ministries. We also have online Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemar, retired Anglican priest, writer, and columnist. Good day, Bishop Stewart. Good day, Reverend Dr. Nemard. How are you both?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm fine. Very good. Very great. God bless you.
Good morning. Your listeners as well.
A bit of a not a serious inquiry, Reverend Nemard, but just curious. Can a priest really retire? You don't have to answer that question, sir.
Well, I'll answer it. We never really retire. We only grow tired.
I found that one interesting.
Yeah, we only grow tired at some point, but no, you never retire from preaching the word. No.
I see. Now, what should the Christian response be on the use of ganja in the way that the law now at this time allows under the Dangerous Drugs Act? For example, there would be no prosecution of an individual if found with no more than what the law calls the prescribed amount, which upon my last check still appears to be 2 ounces. Reverend Dr. Nemard, any comments?
Well, when it was first introduced by the government that legalized for 2 ounces, the first thing that came to my mind is how are you really going to measure that? Because before it was even legalized, those who were disposed to smoking it were doing so very copiously, and then to say you're going to regularize it so that people can do 2 ounces, how do you really manage that? And I suspect that those who have been habitually using the drug, especially before it was legalized, I can bet you that they did not stay within that 2 ounce measure. So I wonder to what extent we were able to say deal with the problem because you gave people permission to use 2 ounces of it, or to plant to have 5 plants at your home. And depending on people's agricultural practices and skill, how much ganja you could get out of 5 plants.
Reverend, I'm going to ask you this, sir. Reverend Dr. Nemard.
Yes.
From a biblical point of view, for instance, is the use of ganja considered to be a sin?
Well, that's a big one.
I know.
It's a question of, if it's a sin, if one considers it in that light.
Yes.
To me, it would be a question of what does ganja really do to your body?
Yes.
And or if you indulge the habit of smoking it, what does it move you to do to others? And so it is the result of using it, the actions that spring from using it. You smoke it, and then you get psychoactive, and then you go and you probably hurt somebody, which you might not have done if you had not smoked it, or if you were not in the habit of smoking it. You smoke it and then you get addicted to it, and then you have to be, breaking the law by, stealing money to buy it and to keep the habit going, things like that. But generically, in terms of it just being a weed that is present for use, and to say that somebody who, say, smokes small portions of it and it does not move them to do anything that you could consider sinful to themselves or to others, then, I'm not too sure to what extent it can be considered a sin in that regard. But it is mostly the actions that derive from the use of the drug that I think could be considered sinful. But the drug all by itself, I don't know if one can. It's a wonderful herb, to be sure. Ganja is a wonderful herb, and we have known of its medicinal qualities, but people who get addicted to it, who use it, and you never know whether you can get addicted to it until you start to use it.
Are you saying it's a wonderful herb because of the medicinal qualities, or are the medicinal qualities only one reason why it's a wonderful herb?
Largely because of the medicinal qualities.
Any other reasons why it's a wonderful herb? Why you say it's a wonderful herb?
Recreationally, I would not consider it a wonderful herb in the sense of what it can do to the mind, and the kind of behaviors that can derive from that, as I mentioned earlier. Yes. But in terms, but especially in recent times, it has been shown that ganja is a very strong, well, I wouldn't say strong drug, but it is a drug that can be used for medicinal purposes, and people are using it and have testified to the fact that they derive benefits from using it. And that is why people are tending towards legalizing it for medicinal uses. I think that they did not do for decades.
Reverend Bishop Mark Stewart.
Yes, sir.
We know what should the Christian response be, and is it ganja a sin? And what are your views in terms of medicinal usage versus recreational usage? Bishop?
Yeah, the great man of God there has said it all. Number one, I will go straight to say it's not a sin to use to use the plant itself for the purpose of medicinal research and helping people to get well. Just as the fact of the matter is, it is one of the most powerful.
Can you slow down a little bit, Reverend Bishop? Yes. It is not a sin to use it for medicinal purposes.
For medicinal purposes. I am not into the smoking aspect of it because of the damage that it does to the human brain and the way it is being used when smoking it. And the fact of the matter is, we Jamaicans have a way of loving to add things to things. For instance, I know that many of the young men who use the ganja for smoking does not just use the raw ganja itself. There's a lot of other things that is added to it. For instance, they had the coke to the ganja. That makes it even more deadly and dangerous. We know that there are many different powerful herbs and plants that is used. For instance, in some countries, they grow the opium, and that is used to make the coke. That's a plant, right? So we have these strong family of plants that is used for these purposes of making coke, Molly pill, and whatever it is that is being sold on the market, which is illegal over many years. Ganja is a part of that family of strong herb that, when used out of context, like for instance smoking.
Reverend Bishop, Only
Yes.
because of time, we're upon a break. Hold that thought, sir. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
All right.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The time buy JN Life Vest from JN Life Insurance is
7:15 and a half.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
International gospel music ministers Chandler Moore and Naomi Rain from Maverick City take the stage live at the National Stadium alongside Kevin Downswell, Carlene Davis, Rhoda Isabella, and Rondell Positive as Kingdom Culture presents the Well Encounter, the ultimate worship experience. National Stadium, Saturday, December 10. Early bird tickets at spuropen.com/TWE22. Follow on Instagram, the Well Encounter Experience. Sponsored by Purity, Sadcore, Love 101 FM, Grace, Pepsi.
Jamaica House of Prayer presents a special conference on Israel and the Church, in person and online, 4 enlightening and interactive sessions, Thursday, October 20th to Sunday, 23rd. That's Israel and the Church Conference. Register now at jahop.org or call 876-631-9520. That's 876-631-9520 for more information.
You're inside the Morning Watch, brought to you today by PICJ and Chris and Charles.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Thanks for staying with us. And we are looking at the topic, the Ganja debate. And our guests are Reverend Prophet Bishop Mark Stewart, founder and Bishop, Jamaica Restoration Breakthrough Prayer, Healing, Deliverance Ministries, and Reverend Dr. Ralston Nemad, retired Anglican priest, writer, columnist. Reverend Bishop Mark Stewart, before the break, you are making a very interesting point. Please continue the point, sir.
Yeah, so as I said, God has created the herbs for the healing of the nation. We saw that in the Word of God. Also, we have over the years grown to be using many different herbs, whether for spices or for teas or, whatever it is. There's so many, even some that we have not yet identified. But you see, the ganja, the opium, all these plants that are God-given, they are being grown and being used. And just as how the doctors, the scientists, they take these plants and they turn them into medicines for various purposes of illnesses in the human body. The ganja plant comes to me in that same light. But the fact of the matter is that we're taking it raw and using it for, over the years, smoking purpose. And that, just as how cigarette is not good, it gives you cancer, and they make sure to tell you smoking cigarette is not good, but they still smoke cigarette. Coke, crack is not good, but many people in our society take crack, take cocaine. The same thing with the ganja. This plant is a powerful plant that does and has many medicinal purpose. But in our society, we have grown to see not just Rasta men, many of our young generation and older, there are people who cannot do without 2 to 3 spliff per day. As they eat, they need a ganja split. If they are in the dance, they smoke and they drink. And the government talk about legalizing 2 ounces. That's nonsense, because on a normal day, smokers don't smoke 1 cigarette. They don't smoke 1 spliff. They smoke 2, 3, 4. And that is where the problem is now, because of the strong power that lies within this herb. it is affecting the mind, the brain, the body, because it is not processed. It is not brought down to what is called the normal required usage in the human body. So they just use it. And as I said before, they're adding things to it that makes it even more dangerous. Lizard tail, coke, all kind of stuff is being added. And I'm telling you, the situation that we're in this country, since the legalization of this ganja, it has become more, I don't even know what the word to say, but these men, when they get high on this thing, there's no telling what they will do, can do, and is doing. Many damaging, the death toll, everything that is rising in this country. I'm one of those who are putting it squarely at saying that this legalization of this ganja and the use of it in the wrong way is creating the mayhem in our generation that we're seeing right now. I'm telling you, it's having a negative effect on our young people, especially our young men.
I know why you say legalization, but technically I don't think it's really a legalization. It's really just to not prosecute.
Prosecute, right. Yeah, it's part of legal, because most time police would have catch you with a slip, they lock you up. But now it's legal to walk. And when you see these boys at the street corners with 2, 3, 5 in their pocket, one in their hand rubbing, and you see these guys every day on the street corner, and all you see them doing, making a next one. They have one in the ears, behind the ears, and one in the hand. So it has gone out of proportion. The use, since the government has given the green light, it has really blown this thing out, and we have seen the effect on it on our society right now. It is happening.
You refer to Rasta men. You refer to the male gender quite a lot. I know women also use ganja.
Yeah, women also use it, but to a lesser extent to the male, and a lot more women are used, since I think mostly since it has been, as you said, given the green light, a lot more women are coming into it. But from day one, we know the Rasta men are very strong users of it, and of course our male and as you said, the female, it is being used more and more. And as I'm saying, the more we see our society getting engaged in using this herb, we are seeing a negative effect on what it is doing. So
heard it loud and clear, Bishop. Heard it loud and clear. I'm seeing a WhatsApp message coming here.
Yeah.
That smoking, well, based on what I'm seeing here, the person seems to be indicating that sugar and caffeine are also addictive.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to say, well, those are not illegal. But any comments on that? Because you have a lot of
but what we're saying, what we're saying is that the caffeine is there. If you drink too much Sorosy, it's not good for you. If you drink too much of any form of herbs, it is not going to be good. So as I said before, allow the scientists to process the thing and find out.
I didn't mean to cut in, Bishop, but because of time, I think some persons might have a concern as to why make a special case in terms of ganja and allowing it to be something that you can be prosecuted for once over a certain amount.
Yeah.
Whilst at the same time, other things are not illegal to use. Reverend Nemard, any thoughts on that?
Because there is a reason why for many decades ganja was classified as a hard drug and was banned, and still is banned in most countries. There's an opening to it here in the United States and so on. But there's a reason that it was banned, and it's because of the properties that they have found inside the drug that create all kinds of medicinal problems for people.
Yeah.
You don't find that kind of medical problem with coffee. I mean, I love coffee. Every morning I get up, I have a cup, and I just have one cup for the day. Am I addicted to coffee? Certainly not. I just like having a cup of coffee. But if I know that if I continue drinking, drink, a dozen cups of coffee per day, I'm going to have a problem.
Yes,
And the
yes.
same with sugar cane that produces the sugar. And if you do not use it in controlled quantities, you're gonna have a problem. So the herb per se is not the problem.
Probably right.
And people have to be regulated because of the danger that it can pose to society. The bishop spoke of what is happening among the youth population. And it's a very, very serious problem. You know, before people were given permission to use the 2 ounces. Like I said earlier, people were using beyond the 2 ounces.
Yep.
And yet, and so they developed a kind of a spirit of defiance. And so you know that they have the door opened a little bit that they can go through. The defiance has become worse in my view.
Yeah.
And that is why young people now, on the corners, like the bishop said, they're putting it in their ears as if they're carpenters, putting pencils up behind their ears. And doing all kinds of different things. And it's the spirit of defiance has moved them into other harmful behavior. Alcohol has become a very serious problem. Alcohol and ganja tend to go together in the way it is being used. And so what you find is that it is becoming a very serious social problem.
Reverend Nemard, one of the things I find interesting in relation to the Rastafarian faith is that, well, the law as it currently stands, there's an exemption based on the amendment to the law. There's an exemption to use ganja as a sacrament in adherence to the Rastafarian faith. Any comments on this, Reverend Nemard? Because whilst we're having a discussion about the ill effects it can have on the wider population, there is this exemption. I know that you're not a Rastafarian, Reverend Nemard, but do you have any comments?
No difference, eh?
I didn't know that. Anyway, from ever since Rastafarianism came into the country and was introduced to the world, we all know that the use of ganja was an integral part of their ritualistic practices.
Yes.
And I would not sit in judgment on that. But even with the exemption that is given to them, to the Rastas, to use the drug in their sacramental practices, there is a level of control.
Yes.
There's still a level of control. I mean, they just you cannot go to a Rastafari community and you find bales of ganja.
No. Yeah.
In a room or something.
They're disciplined in their use.
What was that thought, Reverend Nemard? You're coming in, Bishop? What were you
Yeah,
saying?
what I'm saying, you cannot, the Rastafarian and their use, I respect their discipline in the use of medicinal and use of ganja. Why? Because when you see the Rastafarian, you don't see them going around unconscious, killing people and doing crazy stuff in the society.
Right.
Their use for religious or whatever is very controlled, and they have a respect for it based on the fact that it is used for that purpose within their circle. So they are very conscious, they are very divine in their use, and they have a respect for the plant and for the use of it. The rest of us in society who use it, as I said before, the young men, they had things to it. They smoke it out of proportion. It drives them crazy, affects their brain. They think evil and they do evil. That's the difference between the Rastafarian and the regular people who use this plant.
And very quickly, with the Rastafarians, one thing about them, they have a very strong respect for human life.
Yes.
You don't see Rastas going around because they use it in their sacramental, purposes, killing people and maiming people and so that. And so, very strong respect for human life.
I think we have to leave it there this morning, gentlemen. This is a very interesting conversation that we are having in relation to the ganja debate, because it would appear as if, well, you even have some persons who say that smoking ganja can also be for medicinal purposes. I'll try to get that one in before we wrap. Reverend Bishop Stewart, any thoughts on that?
No, I don't agree with that. Just as though the cigarette is not good, the coke is
Absolutely.
not good, the ganja is not good for that purpose because it does something else to the brain when you smoke. All those going up. Listen, when they inhale it, the brain cannot deal with it. The gel in the brain don't deal well
I have
with
to
those
leave
things.
it there this morning. Edward, totally out of time. Reverend Nemadi had a point you want
Yeah, I
to
was
add?
just going to say quickly that only under controlled circumstances, again, where drugs can be produced from it that can be useful to the human body.
But not smoking it.
But not just smoking it willy-nilly and say, boy, it relieves my pain and all that sort of thing. I mean, a lot of that is a misnomer.
I see. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back with the Morning Watch.
Take the steps towards breast health by examining your body. Get a mammogram and help fight against breast cancer. The time by the Jane Group is
7:31.
This is what Jane Bank mean when them say own sweet home.
Own mean at your place. A Jane Bank mortgage makes you a homeowner with up to 100% financing.
Sweet! That means no upfront fees, low monthly payments, and you can get up to $5 million in a personal unsecured loan to cover related expenses.
Plus, contents insurance from JNGI.
And when them say home, it means with Jane Bank, you can get home in 30 days or less.
Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-51408. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the major daily newspapers this morning and other news sources we have here. In the Gleaner, U.S. offers hurricane assistance to Cubans amid blackouts. We turn to the Observer now. In the Observer, rate increases expected despite September's lower inflation. This is a bit of news from the business section of the Observer. And in terms of Loop Jamaica news, some very important news here. JPS announces planned power outages for October 19th and 20th. Jamaica Public Service, JPS, has announced several maintenance-related power outages for Wednesday, October 19th and Thursday, October 20th in sections of at least 8 parishes. For example, St. Elizabeth, Speculation and Luana Housing Scheme, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. St. Thomas, Bowden to Old Pera, from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Trelawney, Paisley, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. St. Andrew, North Avenue, Kings Avenue, and Wireless Station Road from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Lexington Avenue from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. From 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Lexington Avenue. And there's a schedule for tomorrow, October 20th. So listeners can look out for that to see how they might be impacted. Those and other stories in the various news sources. Of course, coming up next, we look at the feedback from our social media question, which is, are you as a Christian for or against using ganja recreationally and or only medicinally? Why or why not? And of course, if you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp. Put your comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Another World of Worship Wednesday is coming your way inside Alive, 1 to 5 October 19, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15, we feature Ty Bello as our worship artist of the day. Then at 3 p.m. inside the Alive Bible Challenge ABC Season 3, we kick things off with the first match of the season. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This World of Worship Wednesday, October 19, with yours truly, Sarah and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101.
It's National Lupus Awareness Month, and while the disease mainly affects women, there are men who are impacted too. The mailbox wants you to know what's life like as a man living with the disease that has multiple faces. So join the mailbox this Wednesday, October 19 at 5:30 p.m. as we turn our eyes on living with lupus, a man's story. The mailbox is sponsored by Fossage Company Limited, your electrical, solar, and lighting people. The mailbox happens every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. with hosts Kevin Bailey and Courtney Morrison, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Dr. Nadine Blair for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. Are you, as a Christian, for or against using ganja recreationally and or only medicinally? Why or why not? Dr. Blair.
Good morning again. And have we gotten some responses this morning? I tell you.
Okay.
Let me see if I can go through as quickly as possible. Some are a little long, so I won't be able to play all of the long voice notes. But here we go.
Good morning, good morning. This is the morning watch topic. Okay, I'd love to chime in on it. What I'm saying is this, that Jamaica produces one of the very, very best ganja. I'm not a ganja smoker, I'm not a ganja user, but I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I smell the difference and can tell it. Living away from home for years, what I smell here is really bush. I believe when they started to do this cannabis thing, for medicinal purpose only, I thought we Jamaicans should cash in on it. The government should find a way that they should cash in on this thing big time, because we have the best ganja in the world.
It is my opinion that as Christians, generally, we should refrain from recreational drug use because it's just a vice. It's not a healthy habit to pick up, and much of our religion is about restraint because you don't want to give in to the flesh. So recreationally, I think it's a bad idea, but medicinally, I think it is 100% all right in the eyes of God.
Interesting.
Well, I know it's for medicinal purpose. It was grown and it is for medicinal purpose. And if I have to use it for medicine, I would use it. But otherwise, no, because it's not good for everyone. If your head cannot take it, you will go crazy. So it's not something that you play with. It's something that you value very, very highly. And if your head is light, you'll be running around. So I'd only use it for medicinal purpose.
All right. And Marlene says, I don't have a problem for medicinal use. Skimming through, Marlene says, for medicinal use, however, processed, not smoked. I like that that focus there.
Good morning. My take on this,
I would use it for medicinal use because they say it can kill cancer cells.
Okay. All right. So we're getting a little bit more.
As a Christian, good morning to the panel of language. As a Christian, I'm not against the ganja use for medicine. I would like to the right process so we can know what it's for. The Bible said the earth of the earth is an information. So if you go to the right process, I'm not against it for medical purpose, only just for medical purpose.
All right. So I guess the overall view is for medicinal purposes.
It would appear so, Dr. Blair, and quite interesting comments indeed. A lot to unpack there. Very interesting. Well, we move right into the second watch. Thank you so much, Dr. Blair. We move right into the second watch. The prophet Zechariah declared in Zechariah chapter 2, verses 8 to 10, that if you come against Israel and her people, it is as if you have thrust your finger in the pupil of God's eye. You have not only offended the Almighty, you have also received his full attention. How relevant is this today in 2022 and to the church? With all that has been said and is happening with Israel, how have we related to or responded as a church to Israel? In what appears to be these end times, how should we respond and why? We have as our guests for this topic Pastor Harry Walcott, President, founder of JHOP, Pastor, Christian Life Fellowship. We also have Mr. Yakum Fitzhenley, attorney at law, and he served with JHOP from 2020 to 2021 in a part-time capacity. Good morning, Pastor Walcott, and good morning, Mr. Fitzhenley. I was about to say Pastor Fitzhenley. Good morning to you both.
Yeah, good morning.
Are you with us,
here.
sir?
Yeah, are you
I
hearing me?
think I'm hearing you both loud and clear.
Yeah, good morning.
Great having you both. Now, J-Hop, when we speak about J-Hop, Pastor Walcott, we of course mean the Jamaica House of Prayer, yes, sir?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Are you hearing me, Pastor Walcott?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
You sound a bit far away. We're
All
having
right.
a challenge hearing you, Pastor
Okay.
Walcott. We are hearing
Are you hearing me
Mr.
now?
Fitzhenley clearly. I almost said Pastor Fitzhenley again. I'm sorry. But we're having a challenge hearing you, Pastor Walcott.
Oh, all right. Let me see if I can remedy that.
Well, gentlemen, let us try to proceed as best we can. Now, how relevant is Zechariah 2, verses 8 to 10 today and to the church? How relevant is that scripture verse today and to the church? Let's start with you, Mr. Fitzhenley, while we try to resolve the technical issues with Pastor Walcott's on Pastor Walcott's end of the technology. Mr. Fitzhenley?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to be with you this morning, and it's always a pleasure to discuss the people of Israel and what they mean to God. And I think that that verse regarding you said it in a way I haven't heard it before, but I really like the way you said it. That he who touches Israel is as if they've taken their hand. It's a very graphic way to say it, and I think that it was meant to be received in a graphic way. That he who touches Israel, it's as if he has taken his hand and attempted to stick it into the eye of God. And the response that you would get from an individual who you attempted to do that to is the response that God promises, because he's zealous for Jerusalem, the same passage says. in terms of whether it's applicable today, we of course firmly believe that it is. One because God does not change, and the story of Israel is the story of God. It's the story of covenant. It's the story of faithfulness. It's not about a particular people group, but rather God chose a people group who He says He didn't even really choose because of anything impressive about them. He chose them because they were the smallest of all of the nations. He chose a particular people group to reveal something about Himself to the earth, and it's to reveal His faithfulness, His mercy, His grace. And so the story of God is not finished by Israel rejecting Him in the first century. Otherwise, God would be
Mr.
revealed.
Fitzhenley, only because of time, was God speaking or referring to Jews or Judeans? Do you know the answer to that question? Or
To
are Jews
Jews
and
or to
Judeans one and the
Judea?
same?
But by Judea, do you mean the place?
Well, the Judea is a place, and of course, the Judeans would be from the place, it would appear, yes. So are they
Right.
one and the same? Jews and Judeans, are they the same? One and the same?
Well, yes, because the word Jew came from the usage of the word Judah. But of course, we apply Jews far more widely today than we apply the word Judah.
I see.
Meaning that there are potentially people that descended from other tribes, from the other 12 tribes that we call Jews today.
And Pastor Walcott, can we hear you now? Pastor Walcott, can we try again? Pastor Walcott?
Yes, I'm here.
You still sound far away and there's an echo.
Far away.
You sound quite distant. Hopefully that can be resolved in a moment, but I'll continue with you,
Yeah,
Mr.
but
Fitzhenley, until we
yes,
resolve
right.
it. Mr. Fitzhenley, the term anti-Semitic is often used, and it seems as if, and forgive me here if it seems as if if you criticize anyone who is Jewish, it's almost as if you're automatically deemed anti-Semitic. Yet some will argue, and I say some will argue, that Jews played a significant role in the crucifixion of Christ Himself. So, but sometimes one gets the impression in certain contexts that Jews and Israel are sort of unofficially immune from any form of criticism whatsoever. Any comments on that, Mr. Fitzhenley? On all of that said.
So that's where I was going in relation to the story of Israel being the story of God, because the story of God and humanity, because what Israel reveals is that God is holy and man is sinful, and God wants to relate with sinful humanity, and so He has to create a way to do that. So should we criticize the sin of Israel? And I'll use a different word than criticize. Should we rebuke the sin of Israel? Yes. And so is all criticism of Israel wrong? Absolutely not. In fact, one of the things that the prophets in Jeremiah get rebuked for is that to a sinful nation, they only say good things and do not mention their sin at all.
Interesting. Pastor Walcott, let's try again, sir.
I don't know. Are you hearing me better now?
You sound much clearer now, Pastor Walcott. Wonderful, great. I had asked Mr. Fitzhenley a question a while ago. Any comments on that? This term anti-Semitic. Sometimes one gets the feeling or the sense that if you criticize Jews or Israel in any way, shape, or form, you're automatically deemed anti-Semitic and you're excluded. Any comments on that?
Well, the truth is that I have not had that kind of experience. I mean, what I know is happening in the world is that there are people who want to exterminate the Jews, and for what reason? I suppose there are a number of reasons, but I don't know that there's any other nation that has this kind of death sentence over them. A whole nation. There's just this attitude towards the Jews that they want to exterminate them. But I don't know that it's everybody who says anything about it against the Jews is regarded as anti-Semitic.
Well, I'll give you an example, Pastor Walker. You can be banned from social media if you say something which is deemed anti-Semitic.
Well, that I'd have to see what that is, what that opinion is. What
And
is
I'm
it
not
that they're
against
saying?
I'm not against Israel, and I'm just raising some
I
questions.
know, I understand.
You mentioned something about persons wanting to exterminate Israel, and I totally understand that point. Many persons in other parts of the world, there have been genocides in other parts of the world, Africa, for example, and we don't necessarily hear that the Africans are the chosen people. Here we are in this part of the world of African descent saying that the Jews are the chosen people. Uh, some persons might wonder why the preference for Israel, why the specialness of Israel, almost as if they're venerated. Is it because
Yeah.
of this word from Zechariah? Is that the only thing, Pastor Walker?
No. The history of the Jews and their relationship with God is where this comes from. God chose
But what
Abraham.
about the Africans, Pastor Walker? We are not chosen.
No, I'm talking about calling now. Everybody, I mean, calling is specific to a person or a people, and Israel has a particular calling. It's not that they are better than anybody else. I think everybody, or maybe all nations, have a particular calling, but it is highlighted in the scripture that God called Abraham and the children of Israel to be and to do a specific work. So it's not that they're better. It's like a husband has a particular calling in his family, but it's not that he's better than his wife. So there is this awareness that we need to have concerning calling, and the Jews have a particular calling.
What is their
So it's
calling?
not
What is their calling, Pastor?
their calling has to do with being a nation that exemplifies righteousness to the whole world. They were called to be a people who represent God and show the nations what a nation that lives righteously and does what is in accordance with the will of God
Are they
is.
doing that? Are they doing
Therefore,
that? Are they doing that today in 2022?
no, not that I couldn't say that they are doing that as a nation. In fact, most of the nation probably would be described as being well, many of them at least atheists. They have the ultra-Orthodox, Jews who continue to practice their religion. But in general, as a nation, no, they're not serving God in the way that they should.
I see.
So what the day is coming when the scripture says in Romans 11 that Israel is going to be saved. And that is where I really want to, before we have to leave, take the argument, because the conference that we're having is really to highlight the importance of Israel and the relationship of the importance of the relationship between the church and Israel. And that is really, really critical, I think, for the church to be aware of the purposes of God for Israel and the church, and that God wants us to communicate this message.
Okay. So Israel will be saved. Other nations will be saved as well, Pastor?
Yes, one of the reasons why God chose Israel is to be a light to the world, that the whole world might become aware of what it takes to be.
Stick a pin, Pastor. A number of churches in a number of African countries, it is indicated. Well, let's say the church is very vibrant in Africa right now. Very,
Yes.
very vibrant. Could
Yes.
arguably some of those African churches be an example to Israel, because you did say Israel isn't really living up to its mandate.
The truth is, yes, the truth is that God, it says in Romans that the Lord brought the Gentiles in, and one of the things that is to be manifest out of this work with the Gentiles is to provoke the Jews to
Should we
righteousness.
still be using that dichotomy of Israel, Jews and Gentiles? I mean, is that, I don't want to say outdated, but why not just merge the terms? Because when you say Gentiles, it's almost as if you have adopted these children, but these are the birth children, and these are the outside sort of adopted children.
Well, that is actually how the scriptures, the Apostle Paul refers to us as being adopted and grafted in. They are the root and we are the branches. So that is theology. That is clear, I think, in the scriptures.
So we are only the branches.
Well, I don't know if I would use only, because it makes it sound like
we're the branches.
We're not important, but we are a part of the tree, and that makes us important.
All right, Pastor. I won't go any further there. You have an upcoming conference, Pastor, and it's a very important conference. Tell us about this conference, and please include any contact information, because many persons will like to attend, whether it is phone contact, email contact, WhatsApp, whatever. And
Yes,
is there a cost to attend, etc.? And tell us the things that we will benefit from in relation to this conference.
Well, the title, or the whole conference is dubbed Israel and the Church, and it will start on October 20th, and it goes through to the 23rd. That is Thursday, October 20th, and it ends on the 23rd. And we'll be dealing with questions like why Israel, the importance of Israel, and the church. I mean, the church relating to Israel properly. Israel and the end times. It's very important for us to understand the end time scenario with Israel as a primary sign, and what happens to them as a primary sign of how near we are to the end. Then we'll have a panel discussion in which we'll have a number of people sharing as we deal with how to stand with Israel, because we believe that scripture actually calls the church to stand with Israel. So the speakers are Lindsay Ray Powell, one of the intercessory missionaries here at Jamaica House of Prayer. That is on Thursday. On Saturday the 22nd, just to make a note, there's no meeting on Friday, but on Saturday the 22nd, there is a teacher from the International House of Prayer. I'm not able to, well, I'm not allowed to tell you his name, so I call that a mystery preacher right now, because
okay, sir. Okay.
Security purposes.
Maybe it is Mr. Fitzhenley. Every time I see his image here, I'm tempted to call him Pastor Fitzhenley. I don't know what it is about him.
No, it's not. Actually, it's just somebody who ministers a lot in the Middle East, and for security purposes, we
Okay, sir.
Reasons.
Yes, sir.
So Sunday the 23rd at 12 p.m. is Asher in Traitor. He's a Jew. He will be ministering to us on that day. 12 p.m. on a Sunday is a busy time for Christians.
Yes.
It was difficult for us to have it any other time, because there are 8 hours ahead of us. So
I see. Okay.
Contact
information, Pastor.
Contact information. It will be all online. The Zoom link will be provided upon registration. Right?
I see. Where do we register? Where do we register, Pastor? Tell us quickly.
JAHOP.org.
JAHOP.org.
Yes.
Okay.
The cost of the conference is $3,000. But
3,000 Jamaican?
Yes, Jamaican dollars.
Okay, sir.
And if you're just doing one session, it will be $1,500 for the session that you're doing.
Pastor, we want to thank you for sharing that information. Please don't regard the testy questions as an issue.
No,
we need to sometimes be able to ask those questions to get the relevant answers. Mr. Fitzhenley, any comments before we wrap today? Because I think we're not totally out of time.
I would just say that those types of questions are exactly the types of questions that we want to answer at the conference. And so it's supposed to be an interactive conference. So we invite everyone to come with their questions and that sort of thing, because we do think it's a very important biblical topic, and even more important, to say it a different way, it's an important topic on the heart of the Lord. So as his sons and daughters, not second class at all, we want to engage with our Father in relation to a topic that's important to him.
Have to leave it there, Mr. Fitzhenley and Pastor Walker. We're totally out of time. Gentlemen, thank you for your time and for your thoughts, and we hope that you have a very successful conference. Thank you, our listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues, and visit the Love 110 FM, Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Visit the morning, listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to us, the family station, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gill and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing back to Love in the Morning with Dr. Nadine Blair.
Thank you so much for listening to The Morning Watch with Stokeley Marshall. The Morning Watch was brought to you by Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica, Partners for Life.